It's SickBoy from the Gaminganarchist, and welcome to the long-awaited return of the Anarchic Eye for the 27th of October 2014. Now, as a quick backup for those who aren't aware where I've been the last couple of months after saying I was back. Well, after I did my last video, which was to cover the Gamergate scandal at the very beginning of the hashtag kicking off on all the articles, my laptop was sent off for repair. And the couriers decided to use it as a football and smash the living shit out of the chassis. So I've had the laptop there with the manufacturers at Utopia. The guy's been very, very good and had to hold off for the courier company to come along, assess the damage, agree to pay for it. And so what I ultimately now have is an upgraded laptop returned to me with a free copy of the Borderlands: The Free Sequel. And pretty sure I may enjoy playing that purely just to fuck off the likes of Anthony Birch that I didn't pay for it. So, ha 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 ha. Anyway, on with the news. Well, stop all the clocks. I think the world is officially ending because I agree with Cliff Blazinski. He commented on the new Call of Duty trailer, which said it transcends the line between film and game, and he says, stop this shit, games should not emulate film. And I absolutely 100% agree. Film experiences are film experiences. Now, there's a wide range of film experiences. Video games are a different medium. They have a tactile component. They have a fact that it's not necessarily having to tell a story at all. Or if it does tell a story, there can be branching stories. It can make you feel things in a different way. It is an emergent art form in a way that cinema is well in its prime and its heyday. Video games are growing, of course, to a ridiculous extent and are a much more profitable business right now. And gaming is its own thing. All the different genres, all the different types of experiences you can create through gaming is what makes gaming great in my eyes. So people, do not try and make your games to emulate another form of art. I've always been fascinated by the idea of making card games into video games because, frankly, the reason we have card games was because you don't really have. You have to use your imagination. It was limited. It was portable. People could play together. It had a random element that you couldn't do with certain things. You couldn't do with imagination or with a preset decks. People had their own decks. Those things were great. I don't quite understand why just porting that into a game is so popular. Because frankly, it's an experience that already exists. I'd like to see more novel experiences. That's why, for example, really things like RTS games or turn-based strategy games are the ultimate evolution of things like board games, of your Games Workshop titles, for example. That's what they're there for. They evolve the medium. They don't try and be like that. When some games have tried to be like that, they've often failed. Look at the Games Workshop games that have tried to just be a Games Workshop game. Other than perhaps the Bloodborne game, mostly they've been pretty fucking weak. Look at the Space Hulk game. Weak. Weak as fuck. I mean the recent one. It's not a thing that you need to be doing. You are in the position of absolute power within the entertainment industry. Use that position. Create compelling and exciting and novel content. And if it works, it will be hugely profitable. And if it isn't, oh well, it's a bad experiment, but you as creatives should be focusing on transcending what it is to be film, beyond audio-visual experiences, because you have the ability for the viewer to input and the viewer to feel things through how you develop your title. For fuck's sake, don't fall into the trap of just trying to emulate movies. It's fucking stupid. Microsoft's Aaron Greenberg has come out and said that according to the new $50 price drop, they're going to have the Xbox One for Christmas, new IPs, new blockbuster games. They've said that there is a bright future ahead for the Xbox One. I'm just like to point out that the reason that you've been having such problems with the Xbox One, with shifting units, with the pricing, with the software, with general gamer support, is because you didn't do the shit that you're now basically doing a year and a half later. It's fucking foolish. And I understand you've got to do your PR spin and everything, but let's face it, you're in a hole and you need to dig your way out of it with substantial amounts of sales. Now you've had to drop the unit cost, you are going to have to up your sale rate, and you're going to have to do it spectacularly. Personally, I don't have much in the way of axes to grind with regards to Microsoft. They have gone back on most of the things that I've said and called out to be bullshit. There's still the absolutely shitty paywall situation with gold, and I know some people will come along, some X-Bone brony will come along and say, oh, what about the PS4, PS Plus? Yes, I'm aware I can criticise all kinds of shit, including Microsoft, and I will say that they are moving in the right direction. They are getting more support. But if they had listened in the first place, they would not be in the position where they were so far behind Sony that they had to pull things like massive price drops coming up to the holiday season, where frankly their console should be the console to beat. Now, I said this last Christmas, and because I was expecting the games to actually be out, I actually imagine the Wii U to really pick up this Christmas. I said it last year, and I may well be wrong, but the fact with Smash, Mario Kart has done pretty well. Bayonetta 2 has been so well received. I am genuinely expecting to see the Wii U units to shift to the point where they will still probably have more total units sold than the Xbox One. But time alone will tell, and this is a good thing for gamers in general. I don't really understand. I understand you have a vested interest in the brand you've invested your money in, but don't forget that competition is good. Companies chasing your money is good. Microsoft have been on the back foot now for over a year after all their arrogance, and they are kissing gamers' arses. Ever since their launch sales last November were weak, they have been kissing gamers' asses and making concession after concession after concession. Keep them doing that. Every company should be keeping concessions. Sony should be going back on their PS Plus. They've gone back on a number of the things that they've put in place. Keep pressurising these companies because, frankly, you have no vested interest in them screwing you over. It doesn't matter. Their profits will go up if they provide a good service. Unless you're a shareholder, you shouldn't give a shit. There will always be enough games on your platform for you to justify the purchase over time. That's a guarantee. It doesn't matter whether it was the first, second or third. I preferred my GameCube, frankly, over the Xbox. Not over my PS2, I preferred my PS2. But let's face it, the Dreamcast, hugely loved console, tanked, but people still play it. Don't get fooled into the whole trap that you need to support and fight for a corporation that only gives a shit about your money. Put pressure on them and see what good things come. Like cutting the price at Christmas. That's fucking brilliant news for anyone who is interested in buying an Xbox One. That's good news. And it's not, aha, now they're going to win. It's, aha, now you're going to win. If you wanted to buy it, you can now buy it for cheaper. Congratulations. You're the winner. Have a biscuit. The very interesting Star Citizen appears to have now hit a ridiculous milestone for crowdfunding. It has now reached a budget of $59 million. Now, this is being made by the people behind the Wing Commander series and has been highly hailed as could potentially be a massively fantastic title, and I genuinely hope that it will be. But Jesus fucking Christ, if this game tanks, it could single-handedly destroy the crowdfunding industry. That amount of investment with no comeback, if this game tanks, if this game fails to be completed, holy fucking shit, we're going to see a storm the likes of which we have never seen. It will be ridiculous. Now, I think it's also fair to say that for those who choose to criticise the content of Star Citizen, now that you know the budget is at least $59 million, you should perhaps not treat it with the kid gloves you would a pet love project, because frankly it has now got the budget of a AAA title. It now has that scale of budget, so it should be spectacular. So it should be open to as much criticism as is possible to make it a better title and to criticise it and to hope that it will make for better future titles if there's something wrong with it. I want to see more Space Sims. It's something that's gone lacking and it's starting to creep in a little bit, but the Space Sim genre has been dead in the water for quite some time. So I'm excited to see what happens with Star Citizen, and I sincerely hope they don't fuck it up, because if they do, it is going to be, I really think, the death knell for crowdfunding large budget games. Well, I'd like to share a little bit of a PSA with regards to the Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. It appears, if my buddy Toady at eGamer is to be believed, and I'm sure he is, that the upgrade to the graphical engine of, frankly, one of my favourite games of 2012. I agree with him. It is a fantastic title. I fucking loved Sleeping Dogs. Now, it appears to be suffering from some significant frame rate drops between the previous generation versions, which seems insane and has led to him giving it a pretty shitty score. Now, I'm not one to tend to report on review scores, but I felt like it was worth mentioning as a PSA that if this game is not the quality of the previous gen version, then I will tell you that the graphical upgrade, in my opinion, is worthless. Stick with the original. It's a damn fine game. In some pretty disappointing news, it turns out that Bloodborne, the game from Software coming as a PS4 exclusive and is going to be a spiritual successor to the Souls series, is likely going to be aimed to be developed at 30 frames per second. Now, before people start going off and the FPS police start going on about saying that it's about the game quality, bloody, 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 blah, I have my reasons for having real gripes with this. The reason is this. With regards to Dark Souls and Demon Souls, they were slow, methodical kind of games. You could get away with 30 FPS at that kind of action game. It was a slow, methodical, tactical game. And the movements had a certain degree of delay and slowness to them anyway, so the 30 FPS didn't feel at all clunky. Now, Bloodborne is designed to be a much more frantic experience. It is meant to be much more of a by the seat of your pants, kind of frantic, constant survival where you have to be aggressive rather than defensive. Now, again, with the Souls games, you held back, you rolled, attacked. That was how you played that game. Now, Bloodborne is meant to be far more aggressive. There is much more of a reward. You can actually get health back from attacking enemies rather than pulling back. So the game is designed around aggression. Now, I, who like aggressive kind of action games, believe that those kind of games that fit at 60 FPS, those kind of spectacle fighters, which Bloodborne's going to feel a lot more like than the Souls games, should be aiming at a higher frame rate. Frankly, Devil May Cry 3, when it came out at 60 frames per second on the PS2, was a revelation when it came to spectacle fighting and for an action game genre. And it's really distressing to see a game that I'm genuinely excited for be openly limited because they believe that slower pace is what makes an action game. Even when they're making an action game, that will be much more aggressive in nature. Now, I'm not going to say that this game is some kind of red flag and that it's going to be trash or anything, but it does raise an eyebrow I've never really had, really since the PC port of Dark Souls, From Software. I really like their games. I fucking love the Souls series. I love Demon Souls, I love Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2, it kept me tied over. But really, I really think if you're going to go for a fast-paced, aggressive action game, you should be focusing on trying to hit 60 FPS. You should, for the sake of the quality of the gameplay. When people say, oh, it's not about the frames per second, it's about the gameplay, the frame rate directly impacts the gameplay. That's what makes it vital, particularly with action games, particularly with melee-based action games. If someone turned around and said that a fighting game was going to be at 30 FPS, you'd be mortified because it would handle like clunky shit. Seriously, I don't understand this decision. I think they're thinking much more in the mindset of their much more passive style of combat. Much more blocking, much more rolling, much more backing off and assessing the situation. This sounds like it's going to be frantic, as I said, and that requires faster gameplay. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. We're looking through the 2020 vision of the Anarchic Eye. I'll catch you guys later.